I recently finished my conversion of this horse trailer into a food trailer, and I'm going to show you the end-to-end process of turning this from a rust bucket into a perfectly working kitchen. We bought this original rice trailer from a chef down in Cornwall who had started to convert it, but had kind of given up on it, and he thought it was a bit of a money pit. Should have been my first warning sign. So we drove 2.5 hours down to Cornwall to go and have a look at it, see if we were going to pick it up. And obviously we did. We bought it there and then. I think we paid about £1,500 for it, but it is old and knackered, and I probably paid too much, but I didn't know the extent of the rust or the mold problem that was inside. First thing to do on the job list was to work out what was going on inside. The guy who had it before me was a chef and had started to convert it to do exactly what I was doing. I was a little bit skeptical of what exactly he'd done. There was a lot of damp bits everywhere, the wood was a bit soft in areas, the walls just didn't seem right. And my suspicions were correct. I mean, the chassis was a lot more rusted than I thought, especially when I looked underneath. And man, when I pulled those walls off, the amount of mold in those walls was horrific. I even had to wear a mask. And that is why I'm wearing a mask. Gross. That's like something from The Last of Us. Hey buddy, I'd find a new home before the birds come. The next thing I had to do was remove all of the outside. I did actually like the wood on the outside, but the amount of self-driving screws that had been put through to put the cladding on that hadn't been sealed or anything basically meant there was like 100 holes in the metal side, and that's probably where the water came in to make it all damp, so I was getting rid of all of that. The metal was no good to keep. I could seal the holes, but I mean, what's the point? So the idea was to get some sheet metal myself and yeah, redo all the walls. I also had to redo the doors. They were made of hardwood and they were so heavy that I just could not lift them alone. And all the pistons and hydraulics were shot, so they didn't help me lift it. So what I'm doing here is salvaging all the good components of the doors, the locks, the little handles that shut it, and some of the Rice logos. But I will have to fabricate my own doors. Once I'd stripped everything back, I realised kind of the extent of the damage to the chassis and the rust, and there was some places where I could just stand on it and it would snap, which was obviously no good. So we're back to the drawing board, and I honestly may as well have made this entire thing from scratch at this point. I had to do some welding, which is a new skill for me, but luckily my dad is a pro welder, so he kindly drove 600 miles down to come and teach me how to weld. I'm currently in the process of ripping everything out of it. It wasn't in the best state when I bought it. I thought it was in a bit of a better state. But yeah, stripped down to its chassis now. I'm going to be taking these off today. The panels, I've already been welding it, thanks to my dad who came down and did this beautiful work. Showed me how to weld, so I'm currently at stage of being a very bad welder. Hobbyist, I think they call them. So I did this bit with my dad's supervision, and then I have just done this bit all on my own. Needs a little bit of tidying up, but yeah, structurally sound. The plan is to strip it all down and then redo it all. So I'm going to re-put the paneling in, I'm going to make a floor, I'm going to make workbenches, I have a stove on. Probably not going to cut out a door on the side, going to probably serve out the front. That's the plan. We'll see how it goes. It takes a long time, and for any of you that are new parents, time is very short, especially when you have to work full time, but make use of those weekends, evenings. A lot of new skills to learn. It is 4:30 in the morning, and I decided I'd get a head start on painting the chassis. Oh, sorry for that lighting. It's actually very, very dark outside. I mean, you can't see anything. There's a car, like, just there. I've got my little solar setup, a little battery that I power from the sun, and then my little spotlight. So yeah, little cozy setup. I thought I'd start early on just the job I hate the most, which is painting. So I'm just painting the chassis currently with Hammerite. Another part done. That's a floor, baby. Yeah. Look at that. Cut it myself. Oh yeah. The next challenge was then to replace the flooring inside, which I went with marine ply for this, which is a bit more expensive, but it is resistant to water, basically, or at least more resistant. And then I coated them so many times. So this is water coating, well, not water sealant. I'm sealing all the wood basically, so it can't rot, or at least will last a long time. I had to cut all the pieces to shape, which was easy peasy, to be fair, compared to all the welding on the chassis. But I went for solid wood flooring of marine ply, and this is me sealing it all up. So I'm sure there's a million ways to do this, but this is what I'm doing. So, you know, it's my way. So I have got some expanding foam. The the yakkiest of the yakkiest. Yakkiest? Is that a thing? And I've squared it all around the bottom of the base, flattened it all down. You can see I've got my weight on here. Keep it all level. And then once that's all expanded, filled any gaps, it should stop squeaking, hopefully, and just kind of the floor rocking. Yeah, that was my idea, and also help stick it down. I'm then going to get some glue, put it around all the edges, all the in-between bits, and then paint it. I'm going to paint it with bitumen paint, so it's all nice and solid and waterproof. And then I'm going to start putting the other layers on. So I'm going to put a waterproof membrane down, some insulation, and then make another floor, which will be fun. I think I need some thinner plywood though, because it might be getting a bit too high. And I'd quite like to be able to stand up in here still, which I can with quite a lot of room at the moment. Oh, yeah, but then I need to add insulation here. I could probably lose a little bit of flooring, let's be honest. But yeah, it's going well. I'm pretty happy so far. And then I've got the challenge of the walls, which they're sitting here. I just need to see if I've bought the right stuff. I can fasten it on and we'll take it from there. Just to be extra sure that this thing was watertight, I then went for the old bitumen paint, which I did bottom, top, sides, all on the bottom of the flooring. I then have a thin layer of insulation, and then I have some OSB board. So that is my floor. It's all very sturdy, quite heavy to be honest, but not as heavy as the chassis, and all nice and level. And that's all glued down. There's foam in the gaps between chassis, and yeah, that thing is not going anywhere. All right, today's the day that I'm gonna get a bit structural. So as you can see, the floor is pretty much finished. I'm pretty happy with it. You know, I've got my insulation, vapor barrier, waterproof floor. So I'm gonna start doing the walls, you know. It's time. So my plan is to create a frame. So I'm gonna have a bit going up here, like so, that I can, you know, screw everything into. And what will be in here is also the corrugated steel. Will be here. I'll rivet that in, screw it all in, and then I'll create like a frame for a wall. I can put insulation in, but yeah, so I need 2 pieces of this size, which I think I've already done. I want the other piece to be able to stand up here, so it's gonna have to be about here. And I will get a bit more accurate because I'll get the other piece. Oh. To be fair, I can use the smaller piece. So, another piece is going to go up here, you see? Oh, I'm glad that wasn't on me like last time. That's what happens when you cut with a saw that has no battery left. I really enjoyed making the walls. I went for some structural timber. My plan was to make thick enough walls that I could put a layer of insulation in the walls. Just in case, the food trailer thing didn't work out, we could sleep in it, make like a funny little shepherd's hut sleeper. But really, I'd made kind of the carcass of the walls out of structural timber, put some damp-proof coursing on the outside between the metal sheet and the inside. So it's all lined on the sides, and that should waterproof membrane. That's what I went for, which allows air out but water not to come in, which I think was important. So the idea was the framed wall insulation, then I can apply on the inside, paint that all with waterproof paint, and then clad it with plastic. And that would give me a nice, clean, solid unit that I won't freeze inside. Making the doors was easily the hardest bit. So I had to cut wood to size, and then the plan was to have my galvanized aluminium. I then made the frame out of steel, obviously all painted that, but to get it right, to get all the angles just right, that it would fold, lock in place, be watertight, and match the rest of the doors. I mean, that stuff was tricky, and it was very heavy to lift on my own. So for the paint on the outside, I actually watched some guys convert their Land Rover Defender, and they use this paint and rollers. I mean, I was wondering how I get the paint to look so good and be so weather resistant. But I actually bought vehicle paint, and I got these rollers from like Australia, which does it super smooth. That looks like it's been sprayed. I'm sure I could have used any rollers. They weren't expensive, but they did the job, and it looks like it has been sprayed. It's really good quality. Excuse the mess at the minute. It's normally more tidy than this. But I just drove it back from a food market, so everything gets juggled about a bit, and I have to strap everything up. But this is what the inside looks like. All my stuff is kind of bought from Nisbets and IKEA, some custom jobs. I have like a full, big, nice catering oven with my turbo fan, where I do all my cooking of most of my food, slow cooking, meat, everything. I have a nice big fridge over here. I've got power, electrics. This was done by a professional. I wasn't going to do the electrics on my own. I could have, but I just wanted everything nice and kosher. And we were getting electricity put in our barn and in our pottery studio, so all the cables getting up there. So we had an electrician here anyway. So I just asked them to do this as well, which I'm glad I did, because it's all done. It's all done properly and nicely. Not to say my stuff isn't. I got a grill from Nisbets. This is where I cook either the vegetarian and bread or just the meat. Keep them separate. And then I have a hot plate over here, which is where I cook either meat or veg that I keep separate. But obviously use it all for prep work. I've got a fully functioning sink. Sink was one of the hardest things to work out. Finding a sink small enough to fit in here, a double sink. But this one came in and it fits exact in that little piece there, which is perfect. And the water solution. The water solution was one I kind of just had to work out. There was a couple of videos about how people do them in caravans and van life vans, but no one had kind of done the instant hot water thing, which I wanted to be able to wash my hands and make sure I get my 5-star. And also just from a hygiene perspective, it was good to have. But this is my solution. I got a 12-volt adapter there, so I can plug into mains my pump. So this is a SureFlow pump. You can see that it's a 30 psi pump. So the water pressure is pretty good. I've got my Triton InstaFlow 5, which is amazing. It heats up water so fast, and you can run it on one socket, a 13 amp socket, which is perfect. And then it keeps the water hot there, so you're not constantly boiling the water, which is really good, especially in a pitch where you only get 16 amps. And I need to run a big grill as well, and my fridge, and not normally my ovens for prep work mainly. But yeah, I mean, I have a clean water over here, and then I also have a wastewater which I need to clean out, and then it draws water from this through the pump, puts it into the Triton Instaflow, and also then pumps into the tap for the cold, and the hot water comes via this, which is just, I mean, perfect. If anyone wants to do that, I will draw you a diagram. It was easier than I thought, and quite rewarding to do. I've got all my adapters, I've got some jacks as well to keep it up at the back. The power is just a couple of fuses. I've got my lights here, nice bright lights so you can see what you're doing. I got some other fuses, which are the rest of the sockets, and they're outside. Oh. This is where I connect my power. So in our barn we have a 32 amp socket, mainly for events and for this. So it can take 32 amps, which is great because I can run everything at 32 amps, but most places don't give you 32 amps unless you're going to some caravan site or something. So most places get 16 amps. I've got a 16 amp conversion cable. So I stick that on there, I get my 16 amps, and that allows me to run my grill, my hob, fridge. I have to juggle a little bit. But yeah, pretty good solution. I didn't want gas cookers, have to deal with gas. I've got a gas pizza oven, and going to fill up gas, rely on gas, do all the gas safety stuff. It's just that bit of extra stuff that I didn't need. This is bathroom shelving from IKEA, which I fastened to the wall, but works great. I wanted deep baskets on it, so things didn't fall out when I was driving, which is perfect. This is an IKEA barbecue countertop, which I've had to cut a bit to fit my oven in. This is all bolted to the wall. My fridge is bolted to the wall as well. But yeah, that's the inside of it. Excuse the mess, obviously, at the minute. I've got a bin, and yeah, this is where I serve from. Hey, what can I get you? It's a bit high. Everyone says it's a bit high, but you know, it makes me feel more important. You'll see in the video, I replaced all of these walls. All these walls are new. Doors new, locks new. Even this door is new. I made this myself, and the chassis is pretty much new, so about half of it's replaced. I even made the back door myself. All the top's original, and these bits are original. The walls, that's new. Mud guards, new. And I wish that was new. I wish it was new, but it's not. Yeah. The only thing I would do different if I did this again would be to make this a solid wall at the back instead of a door. Then I could have had stuff against it, and it would have made a lot more room. But we live, we learn. One piece of advice I'd probably give if you're thinking about doing a food trailer: not all the work that might be needed, especially if you're not buying a new one. It would be make sure you're comfortable towing, and make sure you have a vehicle that can tow your trailer. My trailer is a lot heavier than I thought it would be. Luckily my car can tow quite a lot, but I reckon if I had a smaller car I would struggle. Just the amount of steel that is in it makes it very heavy, and you'll be surprised how much stuff jiggles around. My first food market I did, food just went everywhere. I'm talking about chicken juice just like swamping the floor, grill fell off and everything. I did a test run round the loop where we live, and everything stayed in place, so I thought it's going to be fine. My drive to Bristol though, just everything everywhere. So now I put everything on the floor. I use ratchet straps to fasten everything down. My fridge is sealed shut. And yeah, towing there's an art to towing, especially reversing while towing. I would recommend you get comfortable with that before thinking about having a food trailer, which I didn't. But you learn. So now it's all finished. It's time to roll out Autobots. I've done 2 markets so far. The first one took about £100 loss. Second one made about £150. That's profit. So we're getting there. We've got to work out the business model. The real challenge is working out how much food to bring to prepare to serve. Obviously it's better to sell out and bring less, but then also you don't want to turn people away. You don't want to run out of food halfway through. So and there's still that bit of ambition as you want to sell more, you want to make more. So it's balancing my ego with some tidy profits. I'd really like to do some weddings and events. That would be ideal because you know how many people you're cooking for, and you also kind of know like what you're doing, and it's a bit more set. The plan is also to have supper clubs. You can see a table there. It's a bit of a mess in the barn at the minute. Currently in the process of doing that one up as well. The plan is to then host occasional supper clubs over there and use the van to cook in. So the van's got all its food safety stuff, so it's good to go and cook in. And then we can serve food here. We'll make it nice, trestle tables, and kind of do seasonal food. Try and grow a lot more next year. Now we're not having any more children. Hopefully, we can get a bit more set in our plans, growing food, cooking it, serving it to people, and hopefully having people stay here as well. That would be nice. But yeah, job complete. It feels like the job's just begun, to be fair. This only took me a year and a half to finish, but I did have a child in between then, and I'm working a job, so not bad going, right?
So what do we think? Was it a success?
I'm pretty tired.
Ryan's ready for bed at 6 p.m.
That was good. You did it.
Yeah!